Hello, welcome back. And today we are going to continue build this question of the day Discord bot. Actually, I started streaming yesterday, but I forgot to click the go live button, so I ended up talking for like about an hour before I realized actually I was not recording. Effectively, that means I've already kind of built this bot yesterday, but because I forgot to click the button go live, I have to actually restart everything and demonstrate to you what this can be done. But the silver lining of that is because I've already worked this out, so perhaps we can get to the result much more quickly, and also I've already got a much clearer design of what we want this bot to do. So let's start from where we stopped at the other day. So let me just open the project. So the other day we stopped when we need to create this Discord bot, and because there was an issue with Discord website, we couldn't do that. So here I already created this Discord bot, and if you have watched my previous video, or if you haven't, don't worry, you can check out my other video about how to create a Discord bot. And so this is pretty much the same process. You create you go to the Discord developer portal, create an application, and then inside this application create a bot. So here I name this bot as question of the day, and then I use the Google Cloud Secret Manager to manage the Discord token. So I will need to copy this token and go to Google Cloud. So you'll be able to find the Secret Manager inside security. And in here you can see I already created this question of the day bot token secret. And if you haven't done so, you can just simply click create secret. And since I already have one, for example, I can say regenerate. So I will generate a new token. So the old token is no longer valid. So with this new token, I can just click new version, and then I paste the value of the secret into this secret. So here the project ID will be this is my project ID, actually the project number, and the ID of the secret will be this one. And let me just open a new window because this window doesn't seem want to be closed. So this is our this is the Discord bot we were working on. So we the day before we created this kind of like main loop where we check message if the user pinged our bot privately, and if the message starts with plus questions, we will send back a question, like a question from the spreadsheet. So we created this sheets.py module, and in the module we have a get question function where we use the Google Auth to authenticate a Google spreadsheet client to connect to the Google Sheets API and get the value of a cell from the Google Sheet. So what I can do here is I can show you the spreadsheet I have here. So since the day before, I modified this spreadsheet a little bit, but it's pretty much still the same. In the question sheet, I simply just have one cell, which allow our users, so the admin of the Discord server, to add a question to this spreadsheet. So for example, now the question is, which is your favorite book? So if we run this bot now, so I'm using the Python debug of VS Code. Okay, actually we need to, so if you haven't used the VS Code before, I highly recommend you to try VS Code. It's really good. And if you use if you are using VS Code but never used this Python debug, again, I highly recommend you try as well. It's very handy to use and it's very easy. In a bit, I will show you how to actually utilize this tool better. So this is, if you first time use it, it will probably prompt you a message which kind of language debugger you want to use, and in this case you just choose Python. And as soon as you choose Python, it will create this launch.json configuration file. So you can actually find this configuration file in your file directory. So it's in the .vs code directory, and there's a file called launch.json, and that's the file I'm looking at right now. So this launch.json file actually launches the Python file that is currently open. That's why just now I click debug on this sheets.py. Doesn't do anything because this sheets.py is just a module. It does not do much by itself. So to debug our Discord bot, I need to launch the debugger against our main.py. So now I'm going to do it again. And here it says you cannot find the project ID. Okay, this is probably because I changed the structure of the code a little bit. So instead of passing the project ID and secret ID directly in the code, I actually get it from the an environment variable. So to pass the environment variable to the debugger, what we need to do is go to the launch.json. So here you can see that I have already configured two environment variables. One is the Google application, the path of the Google application default credentials, and another is the sheet ID, that is the ID of the spreadsheet here. And so now I need to add two environment variables. One is called I can just copy from here. So one is called project ID, and in our case the project ID will be, if we go back to Google Cloud Console, we can just copy this number. It could be either project ID or project number, it doesn't matter. And I also create another environment variable called secret ID, and I copy the secret ID here. And now I go back to main.py, I run the debugger again. It probably will say, it actually says I've logged on. Yeah, so you probably don't have to do this, but because for doing this live demo, I just kicked this bot off my server, so I need to re-authenticate it. So if you just created this application or just created the bot, you probably need to do the same as well. So you need to go back to your Discord developer portal and find the application, and there is a tab called OAuth2, and what you need to do is actually click on the board and give it a permission. The only permission we need now is send messages, and then you can see this there is a authentication URL, and we copy this URL and paste it into a new tab. So this is basically authenticate our question bot, the application, into a Discord server. So in this case, I choose my sandbox server, and I choose authorize. And you will need to be the admin of the Discord server to do this. And it's authorized. Once it's authorized, you should be able to see that I can see this bot here now. And the reason I can't see it in this channel yet is that this is a private channel. So I will need to invite this bot, question of the day bot, into this channel. As soon as I invited this bot here, I can see that I can see the bot here already. And what we need to test is, so what we have for now is simply if I'm pinning this bot privately, and if it starts with plus question, the bot will send back the actual question from this spreadsheet. So I'm going to just start a private conversation with the bot here, and I will just say question. So it's not doing something because I just stopped the debugger. I will need to run it again. And I can pin this bot again, question. So there is an error, but this error is because I need to revert the code back to something similar to the previous version we used. So there is here I'm calling this, I'm actually sending this to a specific channel, but since we don't have this specific channel yet, what we need to do is actually just send the message back to the channel it comes from. So if you have watched the previous video, this should be similar to what you already have here, so you don't need to make this change as I do. So now I'm logged on again, so I'm trying to pin this bot again. Still not doing anything because I probably called this somewhere, so it's 9:23. Okay, I'll comment out this, and I'm rerunning this debugger. So it's logged down again, so I'm sending a message to the bot now. And now the bot actually replied to me and says, here's a question of the week, which is your favorite book. And here you can see this question is exactly as what we have in the sheet. And now if we edit this question here in the sheet, for example, here we can ask, who is your female role model? And now if we ask the bot again, so we type plus question, it will actually ask me the question that I just updated. So this is exactly what we want. By the way, I don't know if in the previous video I have gone through this, how we get to know that this we need to get the private channel this way. So how can we tell if the user is sending us a message through the private conversation or a question here? For example, if I type question here, it should not do anything because here we said only if the bot is sending a message through, only if the user is sending the message through a private channel, that is a direct message, we reply. So that's why if I put in the in a public channel, it will not reply to us. How we get to know this channel type and name? Of course, one way you can know is from the Discord API documentation. Another very handy way to know if you're using a debugger is you can simply put a breakpoint here. So now if I'm pinning this, if I'm sending a message question here, as it's still a message, and so this onMessage method will be triggered. This onMessage event will be triggered, and our code will stop here. And this is why it's called a breakpoint. And when it's stopped here, we can see the value of the variables in this scope at this moment. So we can see here in the local scope, we just have this message variable, and we can inspect the value of this message variable. And what we can see is the content is plus question, so this is the same as the message we just sent here. And we can see it also has a channel property, and in the channel property, it has we can find type, and type here is called text, and the value is 0. So the text is like the text channel here. So I guess there will also be voice channel, and if it's direct message, as we already know, it will be the private channel. So this is how you can use debugger to actually help you understand the data you are receiving without referring to the documentation. So if we go back to the design, the next thing we want to do is actually now we send the user a question, but we also want to record the user's answer back into the spreadsheet. So how we do that? So we probably need to go back to the sheets module we have here. So instead of getting something from the worksheet, we are essentially putting something back into the worksheet. And with that, we need to actually go to the gspread, the documentation of this gspread library. I already have it in my history. So we can see here we have finding a cell. We can update a cell, but they are not exactly what I'm looking for. So I'll probably go to the API reference. So in the API reference, because here we already know that to get the value of a cell, we are actually working with the worksheet object type. And so very likely if we want to write something to the spreadsheet, we also need to work with the worksheet object type or worksheet class. So so with that, I will just take a guess. I will go to look for the worksheet model, so this worksheet class in the API reference, and I can, so this is this section will be the reference to the worksheet. Actually, I can copy a link, put in my code here, so the next time it's easier for me to find this section. So with that we can just scroll down this section and to see if we can find a method that actually we need. So here it's actually very interesting. So we see a few methods here. So one is the first is add rows, another is append row, and another is append rows. So what we want here, since I accidentally built this bot before, what we want is actually we have this answers sheet, and in the answers sheet we have question, author, and answer, and date time columns. We have these 4 columns. So what we want is each time when a user answer our question, for example, what is your favorite book, and I said it's Life of Pi, so it will record this answer here. So what we want to do here is actually, at least as it sounds, similar to append row. So append row, if we keep reading, we'll find append row means to add a row to the worksheet and populate it with the values. So the difference between add and append, I guess, would be append will always append to the end, so that's the exact behavior we need. So I will just try the append row method. So here, similar to the get question, we will have to define another function, maybe called save answers, or maybe save answer to be specific, because we are saving a single answer at a time. And when we call this function, we know that we probably will call this function with the answer, with the text answer. And now we need to have we know this append row is a method of the worksheet, but the first thing we need to do before we can append the row is we need to actually find this worksheet. So before we use this get worksheet 0 method to get the worksheet, so get the worksheet according to the index, what we can also do is to get the worksheet based on the worksheet name. So with that, we probably can go back to the quick example of the documentation. So here we can see there's a section called select as worksheet, and here is we can very easily select this worksheet actually by title. So in this case, we can just say the title is answers. So we copy this part, we copy the whole statement actually, and the title of our worksheet is called answers. So with that, we should be able to select this worksheet we need. And what we need to do is to append the row. So here we need to go back to the append row reference. So what we need to pass, we can very quickly take a look. Actually, you can pass up to 4 arguments, but 3 of them are optional. So we can ignore for now, just to do the bare minimum to make sure this is what we need. So the only required argument is the values, and the values is the list of values for the new row. So I will have to take a guess. I guess the list will be like the list will consist of the value of the first column and the second column and third column and fourth and so on. So what needs to go into our list? We can do a little test. For example, we can say question, and this is my answer, and the third column, okay, the second column is actually author. I will just put my name, tester, and the last column will be a date time, but for now we just put anything. We can for now we can just test this save answer this function. So we can simply save this answer here. Actually, so again, I run this debugger against this sheet.py in this case, because I'm running it from here. Here you can see that as soon it's actually very fast, and so as soon as I run this script, it puts a question tester, this is my answer, and a date here. So it proves that this method is actually what we need. So the next step for us is actually implement something that we can use, we can actually use in the main.py. So let's go back to look at the value of the values in the row. So the question is something we probably can get from by using this get question function. So we can just replace it with a variable called question. So we can say question, actually we can just call this get question function here. So that's how we get the question. And the author, we probably need the user, or maybe the program to pass the author name here. And but we will replace tester with the variable author. And the answer we probably need to be passed, it probably need to be passed dynamically as well. So I will just put a variable here, answer. And the last one is the date time. So if you are familiar with Python, you probably already know where we are going. So we are going to the reference of date time Python documentation. So datetime is a Python out of the box class. So object, and what we can do is we can use the datetime. There's a datetime now function. So this datetime now method will give us the current local date and time, and it will return as a datetime object. And with the datetime object, what we need to put in the sheet is a string. So we will need to convert this datetime object into a string. So in this case, ISO format string. So that method is called ISO something ISO format. So we can see here the datetime object also has a ISO format method. So it will convert the datetime object into a ISO string. So it's kind of international standard string as we are using here. So what we need to do is to go back to our Python code, and we use from datetime, that is a Python built-in module, import the datetime object, and then with the datetime we can define a variable first, and this will be datetime now. For example, we call this this variable this name. So we use the datetime and we use the now method, and the now method will return another object, and then we use the ISO format method we just mentioned. So now the datetime now should be a ISO string, and then we just put it here. So now to test this function, we will need to pass the author name and the answer. So here we'll just say the author will be tester2, the answer will be something. And now we run this script, and we should see this this author, this answer, and with the question and datetime now being written into our spreadsheet. As we can see here, it does do what exactly we expected. So now we can say we have completed this save answer function. So what we need to do now is actually put this reference this function in our main.py. So similar to how we import this get question function, we just import the save answer function in our main.py. And now we need to look at when we want to save the answer. So we said that if the user talk to us privately, and if the user send the message that starts with plus question, and we will send them back with the actual content of the question. So we can probably just simply say if they didn't send us a message starts with plus question, that means they are answering the question. So in this case, we can simply say just a reference to save answer, and the author will be in this case we can say message author, and the answer will be the content of the message. So in this case, message content. But I know this probably won't work, but let's run the debugger. So the debugger is running and the bot is logged on. And also I realized that there is a question bot already running in the background on App Engine. That's the one I deployed yesterday. So I will have to delete this one for now, so we don't have two bots running doing the same thing. So the one on App Engine has been deleted. The one we running locally is here. So now if I go back to question, if I go back to this bot, I write something like not with plus question, we just say blah blah. It actually stopped here, so we don't need this breakpoint anymore. We can let it continue. So does it actually work? I don't think it actually works. So why is it? Because I didn't write in the private message. What I need to do is actually put this blah blah in the private message. And you see here, it has an error, said object of type user is not JSON serializable. So this is actually expected, because if we put a breakpoint here and I'll send another message here, another blah, you see the debugger stopped here. And now we can take a look at what is actually the message author. It turns out the message author is actually a user object. So as it's an object, it's not a serializable object. It cannot be written into a spreadsheet like this. So what we need to do is actually probably just to save the display name of the user. So we can say message author display name. And now we rerun this script. And now you can see that there's no error anymore. And if we go back to our spreadsheet, it has recorded my name and something else. That's what I've written here, and the date time at the time the message is received. So this seems to be doing what we expected to do already. So now we probably just need to go back to think about the user process. So how do we want the users to interact with this bot. So we go back to the design. So we want the user to ask the bot. We want the bot to ask the user a question, and the user can decide whether they want to answer this question or not. And we also want the user to actually decide whether they want to answer the question anonymously or with their real name. So in our case, just now we can only record this user's answer with the user's display name here. This is not ideal because we want our user to be able to answer the questions anonymously. So in here we can just write anonymous if the answer coming from the private chat. But we also want to give the user an option to say, if I want to put my name down, how do I do it? So before, in my design, what I suppose we can do is to give the user an option. So do you want to answer the question using your real name? If the user sum up, we record the user's real name. If the user sums down, we don't use the user's real name. This is actually a little bit difficult to do because the Discord bot is actually stateless. The one we are building is actually stateless. So which means each message the user sent to the server is being processed separately. So even if I can implement this functionality to say, okay, if the user sum up and after a certain message, and which means they want to record their they want to use their own name, or if they sum down, they don't want to use their real name. Even if we can kind of catch this reaction, there's no way for us to correlate this intention with other messages this user sent to the server. So and to implement something like that, we probably need something like external database to actually store some of our states temporarily, and but we don't want to complicate things like this. So what I decided yesterday, actually I found probably could work well, is actually instead of so we probably can have like a dedicated channel, like a public channel. For example, we can call this channel let's create a new channel. We can call this channel question of the day. We can just call this channel a question of the day channel, and also we want the questions to be posted publicly into this channel, and users can decide whether they want to participate or not. And if they reply to this bot in this public channel, we can assume this user does not mind this answer to be recorded publicly, because since other users on this channel can also see their answer, it means they are not answering this question anonymously anyway. So we can assume they don't want to anonymize their answers. But if they instead choose to message this bot privately, and we can assume they want to answer this question anonymously. So this is what we have, what I had here. So for example, the bot posted a question in this public channel, who is your favorite female scientist? And the other users can actually answer this question inside this channel and mentioning the name of the bot. And in this case, this answer will be recorded. So this is probably what we are going to do. So in this case, we need to adjust the usage, like the logic in our bot a little bit. So we can still use this if someone pins the bot privately and send something plus question, it will send back the content of the question. But what we can probably improve is, instead of replying to this user privately, we want this bot to publish this question into the public channel. So in this case, so anyone else who are interested can also answer this question. So in this case, we will need to, instead of sending the message back to the channel where it comes from, we want to specify a channel. How we can do that? So we probably need to go back to the discord.py documentation. So here actually I can just Google how can I send a message to a specific channel. And we can see here there's a frequent asked questions. How do I send a message to a specific channel? So it turns out we can use the get channel method of the client, and followed by the channel number or the channel ID, and then we can just get the channel this way and use the send method the same way as we do here. So, well, the next challenge is how can we get the channel ID? This is actually not a Python question. This is something that you can do if you want, just within Discord. So you can go to your user settings, so not the server settings, your user settings, and in the user settings there is a I think it's appearance, and if you scroll down the appearance, and you can turn on the developer mode. Once you turn on the developer mode here, you'll be able to just right click on the channel name and copy the ID of the channel. So it's very easy. So in this case, we can already copy the ID of the channel, and because I want this bot to be a little bit configurable, so not every time if we change the channel, we need to redeploy the bot again. So we don't want this. So that's why I put a configuration here, like a configuration field in the same spreadsheet. So I can just paste this channel ID into this cell. So we can use the same method that we use to get the question, to get the channel ID. So we can just copy this function and change it to get channel ID. And instead of getting the value of B2, we simply just need to get the value from B1. And because the channel ID is passed to in the Python as a number or integer, we, instead of convert this value to a string, we just convert it into an int. And this way we should be able to get the channel ID already. So we can go back to main.py. In my case, I just need to uncomment this line. But in your case, you probably need to write this line. And don't forget to import this function at the same way we did for get question and save answer as well. So this is how I get the channel ID. And if we go back to the frequently answered questions, so we can use the client get channel method. So we copy this method and we replace the message.channel, so we don't send back to the channel it comes from. And then we replace this number with our channel ID. And with that, we rerun the bot. So now if I pin this bot privately, we'll receive this question in our public channel. And here I already written an instruction. If the user reply to this bot here in this channel, if the user mentions the bot, the answers will be recorded. And if the user chat with the bot privately, the answers will be recorded anonymously. So we actually already implemented this record anonymously feature, because it's basically, if the channel is private and it doesn't start with plus questions, we will save the answers and write anonymous in the author field. So the only thing left for us to do is actually record the question if the user answers the question in the public channel. So for example, for now, if I say question of the day, my role model is someone blah blah. So with that, we need to somehow tell if a message mentions the bot or not. So how do we find it out? And one way is to look at the reference, and another way we already mentioned, we can maybe use the debugger instead. So here I'm going to put a breakpoint. I will just put the breakpoint. I can actually put it anywhere. I just put it here. So as soon as the bot receives a message, it will break here, and we will be able to inspect into the message. So I will just hit enter and send this message. As we expected, the code stopped here, and we can see the message object here. So as we scroll down to the message object, we see there's a property called mentions, and the mentions is actually a list of members. And in the member object, we can see there's a display name, or the discriminator, or the name, or ID of my bot. So in this case, I will probably use one of the either of this display name, or the name, or the ID, the bot ID, as a signal to filter the messages that actually mentions me. So in this case, me means the bot. So I'll probably actually put another configuration field here, which is called bot ID. Or bot name. I call it bot name, and name is question of the day. So again, I will need to create a method, very simple, in the sheet to get the bot name. Actually, we don't need to do that, because the bot user, the client user object should be able to tell us my bot name or bot ID. So I will just run this again, so we can inspect into this client object as well. So I will send this message again, and here we don't see the client in the local scope, because it's probably in the global scope. Another way to do it is we can remove this. in the watch window. So these are the variables we want to watch, or expressions we want to watch. So what we want to watch is client the user. So this basically will be the user of the bot. And I can see here there's this client user has an ID which should match with the member ID in the mentions field. So they both ends with 5109, so it looks the same. So we can just tell if the message mentions the bot or not based on the member ID here and the user ID of the client. So we will need to, because the member object is actually, the mentions property is actually a list of members. So we probably need to write a function actually to do this kind of filtering. So I will just put it here. So we define a function that is called let's say has mentioned. So this basically will say we will accept a list of mentions. So we can say a list of members, and we will go through these members. So the members list, we will assume something like this. So we'll go through this members list and to see if there is one of the member ID matches my client user ID. So I will use for member in members if member do. So this is a member object. As we can see, ID is a property of the member. So if members ID equals to client user ID, so this one, we return true. So we can say has mentioned me. So if we find one match, we can return true. And if by the end of the for loop, actually the message didn't mention myself, in this case the bot, then I return false. So this is a very simple function that can filter if a message has mentioned myself or not. So we just need to put it in. We can just write a new if statement here. So if has mentioned me, and in message, so this is message is a property of the message called mentions. So message mentions. So if this is true, then I save the answer. And with the name of the message author, which we already know is called a display name. So they're actually very handy. If I mouse over it, it will tell me, because we are running this debugger now, so it will tell me in this case the author's display name is Yu. Okay, we probably want to put another condition, like only if this mention is within this channel. So we can say if math. We can stop the debugger so it's easier. If message dot channel dot ID equals to the channel ID we got before, and it has mentioned the bot, we save the answer. So And with that, we can rerun this bot and see if it works. So if we go back to our answer sheet, you can see now the last one was about 20 minutes ago. So now we are going to write question of the day. My role model is actually, let me just say Ada Lovelace. So it actually stopped at the breakpoint. We remove this breakpoint so it can continue. And here, if we go back to this sheet, we can see that this answer has already been recorded here, and also with my name. And if I message this bot privately, my role model is Ada Lovelace, you'll see this answer will also be recorded, but with the name anonymous. So let's just review the whole user flow. So if I'm an admin of the server, or just any organizer of this question of the day, I can ping this bot privately, and I write, maybe I go to the spreadsheet and I come up with a new question. Let's say, which month is your favorite? Or which is your favorite month in a year? So if I'm an organizer of the question of the day activity, I can first put my question here, and then I pin this bot directly privately, and I write plus question. And soon I will receive this question will be published in this question of the day channel. And if I'm a user, I want to participate in this, I can say question of the day, my favorite month is January because my birthday is in that month. And this answer should be recorded publicly. If I don't want my name to be recorded, I can simply pin this bot, say my favorite is July because blah blah. So, and then gradually we will collect more answers from our community, and our activity organizer should be able to see everyone's answer in this spreadsheet. So with that, I think that's the end of this little demo here. And the last thing is we need to, since we updated this board, we need to deploy to App Engine. So to deploy to App Engine, if you watch my previous video, the method still applies. So the only thing we need to be mindful of is we probably, if this is not the first service you deploy on App Engine, you need to add a service name, and also you need to put all the environment variables, define all the environment variables you need in this app.yaml. So in our case, we need 3 environment variables to be defined. We don't need to define the Google application credentials because that is already handled by Google Cloud. We don't need to specify this. If you use App Engine is already part of Google Cloud, and it already has its own credentials. So we don't need to define this environment variable, but we need to define the sheet ID, project ID, and the secret ID, which I already put in here. And I just need to double check if it's the same one I have here. So this is correct. So if I want to update this app engine service with this YAML file, I just use gcloud app deploy, and then I can update this bot. So with that, that should be the end of today's video. Thank you for watching. Bye.